incredible listeners. Welcome back to Third Eye Talks. Ooh, today is going to be a super juicy special episode. I have two incredible ladies joining me today, and I'm going to introduce them to you. You've been hearing me sort of talk about them here and there when I talk about our membership up next, but now you're going to get to meet them and hear from them and to see what I see in them, which is such incredible energy that I couldn't wait to partner up with them. So let's go ahead and let's introduce. I'm going to go ahead and introduce these two incredible ladies. We've got Jenn Mendoza, who is a spiritual coach. She's also a hypnotherapist and an energy healer. So hi, Jenn.
Hi.
So glad to have you here. And then we have a
Happy to be
repeat.
here.
Oh, thank you. And then we have a repeat guest. You all have heard her before if you've been a listener of Third Eye Talks. Her name is Kat Rose Blume, and Kat is a psychic, and she is also an intuition development coach. So, hi, Kat. Welcome back.
Hey. I feel like I'm always here because I'm always listening.
This is your second home now. I do have, now that the podcast is on its third year, I do have some repeats and they're just my go-tos. So I'm so glad to have you back. And Jenn, I'm so glad to have you here for the first time, especially on this topic. So I'm so excited to hear what the answers are to today's conversation and to what we're going to be talking about. But before we get started and before we get the conversation going, I wanted to go ahead and talk a little bit about Up Next, which is our membership. And we're going to touch on it pretty much at the end. We'll go into details about it, but I did want to touch on it at the beginning in terms of why we really created it and how it ties into today's conversation. So, one of the reasons that we really wanted to put this membership together was that we hear a lot of programs and a lot of people who put together programs where you're given the answers, right? Where you're given these formulas for how things need to happen or how you should the formulas that you should follow to create certain things. And one of the things that we really wanted to do with Up Next was to say, you have the answers. We're just going to help you to find them. Okay. We're not going to give you any answers. We're going to leave that up to you because those answers are already in you. But we want to give you the platform to be able to find those with our help and our mentorship. So, with that said, today's topic and today's conversation is really going to revolve around the answers that are inside of us and the ways in which we have within us every answer that we need to our situation. So, are you ladies ready?
I'm ready.
Yes.
All right, so I'll kick things off with a little story, and my listeners have heard this story before, especially if they're loyal listeners. But one of the big events in my life where I really had to listen to myself and find the answers inside of me was when I was about 14 days away from getting married. And I realized that after 7 years with someone who I'd been engaged to, that that wasn't my person. And when I realized that, I was really lost about what to do because, of course, I had a full wedding planned out. People had flown in from other places to be at my wedding. I had been with this person for years. This was my college sweetheart. But I realized too close to the date of our wedding that we were not it. You know, we were going in really different directions. And I was in my early 20s and I knew that if I got married, I would regret it. And I knew that it wouldn't go where I really wanted my life to go. And I was hearing all of this noise. Imagine all of the people telling me, like, what are you, people who had expressed that I might call off the wedding, all of the information that was coming to me. And then, of course, considering this other person and how much they cared about me and having this full wedding planned out. I had all of this noise coming to me, but I knew the answer. And I knew that my answer was not to go forward. And that was the very first time. And I mean, I was in my early 20s. So I know some people get to that point earlier. But to me, now thinking as a 40-something-year-old woman, I'm like, I was so young. I was such a baby. And that was the very first time that I decided this is my answer, and I know what I have to do regardless of what others are saying, and regardless of their well-intended advice. And I did call off that wedding, and it was one of the best decisions that I ever made because I got to live this very full life after. And I did eventually meet the love of my life, and we did go on to have children. And I got to live my life the way I wanted. That answer was in me, but I had all of these people around me telling me differently. So there have been instances and experiences after that, so many where I've had to go back to me and to find my answers. And I want to hear from you, ladies. Tell me a standout moment in your life where you might have had all of this external noise, but you found the answer within yourself. What was it? What was it about? Tell me that experience.
I'll jump in here. So earlier this year, almost a year ago now, my prior mentor who really brought out in me the best of my coaching abilities and where I want to be within the spiritual community. I had been following her, if you will, for the past 4 or 5 years, really just on her tail, just right behind her, holding on and clinching on to everything that she said and yesing and yes, and this is it. And everything that she did and said, I was right in line with. And that all came crashing down when suddenly she decided to what seemed to abruptly shift directions in her own faith and belief. And that was crushing to me because she had then said to me that everything that we had been doing together and everything we've been exploring and teaching other people was suddenly wrong and untrue. And I want to say for about a good 3 or 4 hours, I said it doesn't seem like a long time, but it's a really long time when you're unsure of yourself. I was really scared, you guys. I was truly scared because everything came crashing down around me, and I suddenly hit this place of what felt like, what now? What do I do now? If everything that I have believed in for the past 4 or 5 years, well, really my life long, everything that I had believed in, but everything that I had been following for the past 4 or 5 years just came crashing down around me and is suddenly not true. I don't know what to do with myself. I don't know how to feel. I don't know where to go. I felt empty. I felt void. I felt almost what it feels like to wonder what's the point of existence anymore, if I can so lightly touch that. Um, it was a very scary feeling for me. And then I started just asking the why questions. Why do I feel like this? And why is this so important? Why is this so devastating to me? And what do I really believe? And do I believe her newfound faith? And do I believe that this is the path that I'm supposed to be on? And I really started digging into why I started following her to begin with. And then it occurred to me that it wasn't her. It wasn't her. She wasn't the reason that I had believed in everything that I believed in. I found her as a result of everything that I believed in. I found her as a result of looking for people to connect with that felt the same way that I felt. And when I found her, it's because I was living in my authenticity and I was looking for other people that could shine light on that, that could help me to bloom into that. So then I dug deeper into that. So what does it matter if she was my mentor, my teacher, my healer? Just because she changed paths doesn't necessarily mean that I had to. So I really started feeling into outside of this person and what they taught me or shared with me. What does Jenn believe? What does Jenn believe? And so for the past year, I've really been sinking into that. And it's been a beautiful experience where I've just been blooming in every area, I feel like, of my life, because I'm no longer now, this is the most beautiful part. I'm no longer now looking over my shoulder, asking, is this right? Am I doing a good job? Is this the right way? Is this in line with because now I'm like, it never mattered to begin with. And so that has really helped me to flourish, just tapping in. And now no one can pull the rug out from underneath my belief and my faith system, because it was a learning experience for me to say, what do you truly believe in?
Wow. I love that, Jen. I love that. And I love that your experience is recent, you know, it's more recent because I feel like you can touch so much on what that feels like, what it feels like to find the answers for yourself, even if someone who you trusted so deeply changes their mind. You know, you really brought it back to you. And I love that. I love that. I mean, I hate to say that you had to have that experience, but I love that it brought you to this place
Right.
where you're really like, these are my answers, and these have always been my answers. And even though you thought the answers were maybe with her, what you learned through that experience is that those were always in you, right? So I love that. I love that. Kat, do you want to tell us a little bit about that? Those multiple times?
I'm an Aquarius,
For
so that's
fun.
my whole life. I'm going against everything everyone says, not on purpose.
Same.
Um, I have the tendency to try everything that doesn't work for me before I figure out what does work. And when I came back to Miami, I want to say it was about 4 years ago at this point. I was used to constantly having very stable jobs, right? Corporate law firms, very stable jobs. And I came back and I said, after having a job for a short period of time, okay, let me just do something different, take a step. I was so scared and so uncertain, and everyone told me I was crazy and I needed to have some sort of stability. And they were right, don't get me wrong, but I took a step. And if I hadn't taken that step, I wouldn't have discovered the things about myself that I know now, the abilities that I have, the ways in which I better myself, the ways in which I connect to people. I met so many amazing people, including you ladies, that allowed me to pave the way of this journey. I started creating events, I started doing readings, I started practicing Reiki. I started to trust myself without a backup plan.
Mhm.
And now we're here. That's the short version. I just took a leap that
Mhm.
made no sense to anyone, including me. And I had no plan and I had no idea what I was capable of. I just wanted to try something for the first time that
Mhm.
felt absolutely and completely true to me, and no one else needed to understand. No one did, frankly, until now.
You're the girl who left the security of that corporate environment and really took the risk with entrepreneurship and with digging into your gifts, right? Is that what you felt that experience was like? You went from like this very head heavy space into like, what do I really feel I want to do, or what is my purpose? Is
I
that
think, in other words, yes, but I feel that the thing that stands out to me the most in that situation was that I didn't know if I was going back to a job. I didn't know what I was going to do. I had absolutely no idea what I was doing, is the whole point. And I just, something told me this is the next step. And then the next step illuminated, and the next step illuminated. And there were jobs in between, but none of my steps made sense. And sometimes they still don't.
Mhm.
But I've learned to just trust that it
Yeah.
doesn't all need to be illuminated. I just need to trust myself.
Yeah.
And if I hadn't made that initial decision to just take a step forward, even though it made no sense at the time being, I wouldn't have known what I'm capable of.
Mhm. Mhm.
So it's kind of like not having a 10-year plan and instead having like a 10-second plan. Like, what are we doing in the here and the now?
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
Kat
I
was
did.
living on the daily plan.
That was basically it. And it was beautiful because I had no idea that I had psychic abilities. I had no idea that I did have some idea, but as most of us, doubted them for my entire life.
Mhm.
I had I didn't think I was a creative person. I would
Mhm.
have never identified myself as a creative person in any way whatsoever to any capacity.
Mhm.
And I was so used to being in this box that the moment that I stepped away from it, all of this creativity started to flow in. I was like, whoa, I had no idea. And anyone that knows me, you would ask them, is Kat a creative person? Their first response would be like, hell yeah. Not back then.
Oh,
Not back
it's
then.
so funny. And I can imagine also in that situation, and this kind of leads into my next question, is that you must have had so many people telling you, you know, what are you doing? You need a job, you need stability, you know, because people love to, I always say, and they've heard me, my listeners have heard me say this before, like people's primary job is to file you, right? So that they can know how to react about you, what to say, what to make sure that they do right and what not to do, right? They file. The brain is an incredible filing system. And so when
Mhm.
you get out of non-creative cat mode and you jump into this whole other version of you, that people must have been like, girl, get back in the file where I had you because I don't know what to do with all of this.
Oh
And
yeah.
that noise is big. And Jen, I imagine the same is true, not just in the situation you explained, but just like overall, where sometimes we find these answers inside of us. And because people have filed us in a certain way, they try to do whatever they can, as well intended as it is, to put us back into those files. And when you're like, no, I don't go there anymore, you're going to have to deal with it. That can be really difficult.
Yeah, the prime example of that was the mentor. She herself was like, you have followed me this whole time for the last 4 or 5 years. Why would you not follow me now? That's not the file I have you in. Because I wasn't following you because just because of who you are. I was following you because the message resonated, but now it
Mhm.
doesn't anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. So that brings me to my second question, because I feel like this is something that we are going to mentor anyone who's inside of the Up Next membership through. We're going to have to get them, or this is going to come up at some point. If someone is trying, especially now in the new year, to get out of those files and do something really differently with themselves, maybe they're going to rebrand themselves, maybe they're going to try out their entrepreneurship journey, maybe they've been on the entrepreneurship trail and now they're going to go into something more traditional. Whatever that changes, whatever that move is that comes up next, what would you advise people when they are trying to get out of those files, but they're getting well-intended advice from others? What would you tell them to do in that space, in that place?
I would ask them to ask themselves this one question. Who are you when you take away who you're expected to be?
Hmm.
And start from there. Because a lot of times people have no idea. And their whole identity has been based on who they thought they needed to be, the
Mhm.
pressure of who they needed to become. I can relate.
Yeah. I love that. Jen, what would you say?
For me, I think a lot of it has to do with connecting to self. A lot of people, like Kat says, they don't know who they are. And it's really hard to tune in to that and to find out. It's hard to hear the answer. So I revert back to just sit with yourself for just a moment and how does it feel? How does it feel? What does it feel like when people go against what you're saying, right? What does it feel like when you support what you're saying or how you're feeling or the direction? So I think it all goes back into how does it feel inside of you, inside of your body. And so you have to just tune out the vibration and the noise of everything else and focus on the fact that everyone around you is programmed, if you will. We're all programmed. We're all conditioned to believe, to act, to move in certain ways. And people don't know any differently because they've not done any differently, right? So if you want to break the chain on that, you have to just go within, tune out the noise, remember that everyone is conditioned and programmed. And to break that, you have to feel the vibration of what it feels like in you. So does this feel good? If I were to do this, would it feel good? Does it feel good thinking about it? Does it feel good dreaming about it? Does it feel good romanticizing it? Does it feel good inside of me?
Mhm.
That's your answer.
I love that. I love that. And I would agree with all of that. I would add also to remember that people aren't living your life. This is your
Mm-mm.
life. This is your life. So, you may hear advice from other people, but they don't have to take the decisions home with them. For example, in my example of the very first time that I listened to myself, no one was going to have to go home and be married, right? No one was going to have to live my life. So I think we have to remember sometimes that as much as we want to do good by others, that those other people aren't going to, at the end of the day, be responsible for living the decisions that we make. So
Absolutely.
I think we have to quiet that aspect, like you said, Jen, like really go within, ask yourself, is this what I see my life becoming? So I guess this will be my final question before we touch a little bit on the membership. But let's say you are in that space again where you're making a decision, but it does impact other people somehow, right? How do you remove feeling like you're being selfish for thinking about yourself and not necessarily doing what it takes for the other person or for other people? How would you quiet that in yourself?
I'm gonna let Jen go first.
So that's hard when you're compassionate and you care truly for other people. It's really hard to want to hurt others, right? Because you feel empathetic and you feel like, oh my God, this person's going to suffer because of a result of my decision. I feel like it's all about intention in life, right? Your intention is not to cause harm, right? And I love to live by do no harm, take no shit.
Mm-hmm.
So while we're not intentionally trying to cause harm or pain on another person, it's not fair for you to suffer as a result of looking after and worrying about someone else's feelings, because ultimately they will suffer because you're not happy.
Yeah.
So you have to remember that everything that you feel inside moves outwardly. So if you're feeling pain and suffering, sadness, depression, that is going to travel and multiply outwardly around you. Whereas if you allow yourself to make decisions that are for you and filling you with happiness and balance and peace, that is also going to resonate deeply outwardly and ripple around to your circle. So it's hard to do in the beginning, but ultimately the people around you deserve the best from you. And if your heart isn't in it, then are they actually getting the best?
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love that. I would add a layer to Jen to that, which is incredible what you just said. If you're not happy, then people around you aren't going to be getting the best version of you, and they deserve that. So I totally agree with that. I would add too that it's kind of it's kind of a good cleaner process, right? If you're about to really take a risk and do something really differently, then it's your opportunity to see who's really on your team and who's really an energetic match for you. So I say go forward in those decisions, because in that space, it's an incredible opportunity to see who's riding with you, like
Right.
who's
Who's
really
your ride or die?
who's really a ride or die for you, because you'll notice that when you do make those shifts, you lose certain people. And what you learn is, wow, those people weren't really here for the authentic journey that is Jen, or the authentic journey that is Kat or Naz, or, they're not here for this journey. They were here for something that had to happen during that time, but they're not here for the full ride. So it's like a good cleaning up, process. I was gonna say taking out the trash, but that sounds horrible. But you
It's
get what I
true.
mean.
It's
You
true.
get what I mean. Yeah. Yeah, totally. So Kat, tell me, what would you say?
So I'm gonna take the more practical approach because I am a Virgo rising, and I'm gonna say it all depends on the circumstance, right? I agree with everything you're saying. I think that sometimes if we have family that depends on us, or a husband or children, or whatever the case may be, there are ways to make moves in your life that feel more aligned with who you are. And you're not completely letting go of those responsibilities because they're a part of you. There are ways like, hey, I'm a psychic medium, I'm an intuition coach, I have a business, but I also have a job that works for me with
Mhm.
my schedule. That doesn't make me feel like I have betrayed my character, right?
Yeah.
That may not always be the case. I might eventually just be like, no, this is good while it lasted because it's one step after the next. But
Yeah.
there are ways. And sometimes it's so difficult to see the options when you're in that situation because you have never been in that situation before.
Mhm.
And you just need a little bit of guidance to open up your mind to, hi, maybe I could take this avenue and try this. Maybe there's a medium somewhere in here, right? There's a middle ground.
Mhm.
I'm gonna take the more practical approach, although I will take chances left and right. But I do understand that it depends on the person and the situation. But
Yeah.
with that being said, whenever you do take that chance, a lot of people will leave your life. I completely agree with that. A
Yeah.
lot of people will leave your life, and a lot of people will disagree, and a lot of people will try to advise. And it's understandable, but at the end of the day, it requires, I'm going to say this, no matter how intuitive, no matter how aware, no matter how much healing you have done, you're still going to make the tough choices. No one's going to make them for you.
Say it again, Kat, for the people in the back. Yes, you're gonna have to take
Yeah.
and no risk, no reward. That's the honest truth. So I love that. Thank you, Kat. And I think that's a great what you see here. I love that you said I'm gonna be the practical one in this situation because this is kind of the beauty of Up Next and what we've created as a team is that you could have the Naz opinion, you could get the Jen opinion, you could get the Cat experience individually. But with Up Next, you're really going to have three different perspectives from three really different individuals who have had three really unique journeys and have different ways of doing things that still all cater perfectly to the spiritual journey. So I think that you just showed the beauty of this membership and that we just showed levels of ourselves and what people can expect to experience there. So do we want to talk? Let's talk a little bit about what Up Next really is. Kat, do you want to take it or you want me or you want Jen? Jen, you want to take it?
I kind of have a
I feel the
story
word.
that has to do with I guess in part how we're here, why we're here. I'll keep it very short. I got fired from a job a few months ago, and everyone, including you ladies, could see that I'm just not someone that's going to have a boss. Everyone could see it but me, right? Some of the old programming came back, and I've had jobs, we'll call them jobs, throughout this journey. And it was the push I needed to launch my courses, to launch my classes, to take a step in the next direction, right? Because I had a community, a friendship of people that saw things in me that, even though I knew were present, I was struggling to accept within myself. There were
Hmm.
different perspectives,
Yeah.
right? There were different perspectives. That's the whole point.
Hmm.
The guidance that it's there, but sometimes you just need a little bit of, hey, what if you never know, right? What if you try this approach or this avenue? Or let me just slide in this little story right here and see what resonates with you.
I think that's the experience a lot of the members of Up Next are going to have is that for me, the membership really is about just community because I think that we can do so much by ourselves, but the point does come where the
Mhm.
support of other people just makes the journey better and easier. And I think it's also about like Kat, I have a hard time ignoring my own answers and my own intuition. And so when I go out, because I have coaches, I have business coaches, I have mentors, I have people who help me, with my self-development, with my self-care. And I noticed that the more I went out to look for these people, the more they wanted to sell me here's my formula and just follow what I'm telling you.
Right.
And that really irks
Mm-hmm.
me. And so the more I look, the more I realize there's not anything out there that I can find, at least, where I'm just being mentored and asked questions that bring me to uncover my own answers instead of a formula. So when I had that thought, it happened to be when Kat was going through her moment, and we had a conversation, and we were like, we really just want to offer something where people can have a community and where we can help them to uncover their own answers to make a move. And then Jenn was like, yes, because Jenn had just gone through the experience with her mentor and found her own answer. So it was like a beautiful, just trifecta of
Yeah,
events.
absolutely. And I feel like when you have a blend of different personalities and different perspectives, it just gives you the opportunity to see things on a spectrum as opposed to this is the only path forward. Then
Exactly.
you begin to see many avenues and many options, and then that opens up your ability to then create your own avenues within a spectrum that's even broader and even more broad, and it just continues to grow. And I feel like the community itself also creates a safe space for you not to feel so lonely, because this journey can be really challenging. It can be really lonely when you start to understand life. Let's just put it that way. When you really start to see things for what they are and you really start to tap into the core of everything, you see differently, and it can become a very lonely space. So having a community, not just the mentorship that we're providing, but a community of other like-minded people that are there to support you, it creates like a band of family, if you will, that you no longer feel alone or weird or left out or scared.
Yes, I love that. I love that. So for my incredible, beautiful listeners, if you're interested in joining Up Next, the link is in the show notes. You can also go to upnext.podia.com. Again, that's upnext.podia.com to find out more about what we're doing. We've already got a couple of people signed up. We're starting with our first class January 7th. Yes, do I have that right? Okay, January
Yes,
7th.
yes.
January 7th, and inside of the membership, we're going to have classes every single month online. So no matter where you are, you can join us, and you're going to have access to Jenn, to Kat, and to me, all to guide you to what is the next move for you. What are the answers that are inside of you just waiting to come out so you can get out of that file that you've been in and really revolutionize your life. So I'm extremely excited. I'm so honored to be doing this with you ladies. Do you have any last words before we go for the listeners?
I'm excited to see what's up next, to be quite honest.
Same here. Same here. Kat.
I'm very excited. I recently just wrapped up a 4-week course, and based on that alone, on people feeling supported, on people realizing that there are other avenues and there are other people that can relate that won't put them in a box, that alone is so powerful. And the change that it creates within you. I was so emotional when that class wrapped up, because I don't know if they realize what I realized, which is the seeds that they planted and how they're about to bloom. And they're
Oh,
so transformative.
I
So,
love that. I love that. I love
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yes, it is indeed. So again, if you're interested in joining, link will be in the show notes. It's also, by the way, access to the three coaches you're listening to here, these three energetic spiritual mentors. And the price can't be beat. I mean, honestly, not just because it's our membership, but $45 a month is incredible for everything that you're going to get access to. So if you're interested, again, go to the link in the show notes or go to upnext.podia.com. Ladies, I'm so excited to go on the journey of 2024 with you. And
Yes.
I'm honored to be doing this with you. And thank you for your candid answers today. And I'll see you guys. Bye. And to my listeners, thank you so much. I'll see you next time on Third Eye Talks. Bye-bye.
Bye.